This conference will now be recorded.
Hey everybody, it's Monday at 2:30, so it is time for our Monday through Thursday 2:30 podcast. This is the podcast where you will hear the science behind what happened with this opioid crisis. My name is Dr. Doug Smith, and what we're doing right now is we're going through the second citizens petition page by page. Okay, we've already gone through the first citizens petition page by page, and now we're going through the second citizens petition page by page. If you have any questions or anything, reach out to me. I try to answer every email. And What we're going to talk about today is something called TEI. TEI. Okay, and this is not good stuff. Okay, and what we're talking about here is we've put in 11 demands of the FDA on our second citizens petition. Okay, and we're going through the demands one by one, and we're working on demand number 8 today. Okay, we've already done 1 through 7. Now we're working on number 8. Okay, and demand number 8 was similar to number 7, but what we're demanding is that the FDA begin genetic testing on the children that were born to people who were opioid dependent. Okay, and specifically what we're looking for is to see whether or not the methylation was inherited. Okay, and I want to bring your attention to the right hand side of the screen there, and that's a very scientific article, and I know these articles are tough to read. Okay, I know the science is a challenge. I mean, heck, the DNA science is a challenge for me too. Okay, I got to read this stuff several times, and I'm always going to Google and looking up a word and trying, and working my way through it. Okay, but I want you to see the title of this, and you can see it says molecular mechanisms of transgenerational epigenetic inheritance. Okay, now let's focus on transgenerational epigenetic inheritance, TEI. Transgenerational means from generation to generation, from parents to children. Epigenetic means that it's in the area of the DNA that's above the actual hardcore DNA. Inheritance means that it can be passed down to your children. Okay, and let me read the first sentence here. Increasing evidence indicates that non-DNA sequence-based epigenetic information can be inherited across several generations in organisms ranging from yeast to plants to humans. Okay, which means that the genetic damage, the specific genetic damage that we know now is being caused by the opioids, this is exactly the type of genetic damage that can be inherited across generations. And this is what we believe is resulting in the surge in autism and developmental delays here in the United States. Okay, we think it's pretty obvious. Okay, and we believe we're right. Okay, this is devastating. Okay, let's be clear about this. Okay, these were not children that were destined to be born with disorders, with developmental delays. Okay, and a lot of these kids are not getting out of diapers. These were kids that were going to be normal. Okay, they weren't going to have a developmental delay. Okay, but the parent got the genetic damage from the opioids. Nobody warned the parent. Okay, nobody warned the parent that the damage could be passed on to the children. Nobody got warned. Where's the FDA? That's your job. Okay, they get billions and billions of tax dollars every year to protect the public. Didn't do a very good job on this one, and they haven't even acknowledged their mistake yet. Okay, that's why the title of the book, so far at least, is the FDA genocide, because that's what it is. Genocide would be that they killed people, but here they took what would have been normal kids, and now these kids aren't even getting out of diapers, and it's because of the genetic damage that's being inherited. Okay, if you want to get technical about it, you can call it TEI, transgenerational inheritance. Okay, but that's just a fancy word for common sense. You know darn well if you pile a bunch of genetic damage onto the parent, kid's going to get it. I mean, that's just common sense. You don't need fancy words. It's nice to have fancy words, TEI, transgenerational inheritance, but common sense is all you need. You pile enough genetic damage on the parents, and the kid's going to inherit it. Okay. The scientists care a whole lot about genetic damage that changes the genetic sequence. Okay, we're not changing the sequence here. Okay, we're not changing the genetic sequence, and that's why what makes this type of genetic damage differ from other types of genetic damage. All right, I don't want to get too long today. TEI, transgenerational epigenetic inheritance. We're demanding that the FDA test the kids for genetic damage. I think everybody knows my personal belief. I believe China's pumping in the fentanyl as a biological weapon to initially poison the parents. And then, as you see, this stuff's going to be passed down generation to generation to generation. You're not going to get this out of the gene pool for a while. This is something we're going to be dealing with for generations. And this lies solely on the FDA. All right, everybody. My name is Dr. Doug Smith. It's please post this podcast on your social media, everybody else's social media. Like and subscribe to us, and we will see you guys here tomorrow. Thanks.